All right, welcome back. MLive's Dungeon of Doom Detroit Lions podcast. Last one for a little bit. It is the last day of school here in Allen Park. I'm Ben Raven. He's Corey Woods.
What up, dude? What's going on?
Feeling like a senior skip day today.
Yeah, it does have that weird feeling like, hey, we're gone for the summer.
Yeah, and not only was it the last practice, the last access we have until later July. I mean, they were forced inside today. It is Thursday, June 5th. Some rain. A lot of guys missing on the turf. We basically just watched a walkthrough for an hour.
Yeah, it was as Dan Campbell likes to say, the guys were in pajamas.
Yeah.
It was nothing to really observe. I mean, I have a few observations, but it was nothing really hardcore because guys were just looked like they were just kind of like going through the motion, just making sure like, hey, you understood where to be at, proper alignment, where to go on certain plays. So it was nothing that was, full tilt to kind of really assess.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't a single full speed, half speed play today. I mean, I think the quarterbacks only threw the ball like 6 times.
Yeah, and most of their throws I've seen were like their real throws were like during like passing drills, just just one-on-one.
Yeah, and even if it had been a busy day of practice, we know what our main talking point is this week.
Oh yeah, I think it's the I don't even want to say it's the elephant in the room. It's the Ragnow in the room or something.
Yeah. So earlier this week, Frank Ragnow announced his retirement on Instagram. Going to take prioritizing his health and his family, and just as someone who's covered Frank's entire career, I mean, like I kept getting asked, like, were you surprised? Like, yeah, I was surprised, but like we were asking questions about Frank's retirement last year. Like,
yeah, and it was can correct me if I'm wrong, just from Frank, it was a contentious subject for him. He didn't really kind of want to address the thought. He wanted to just focus on getting healthier and playing. And from everything that we heard towards the end of the season, it's looked like, okay, Frank's in good shape.
Right.
We can table those retirement talks.
Right. I know, and I went back and I read the transcript of the locker room cleanout day, and he does say, like, yeah, I feel great. It's the best I've felt. And then there's a ... comparatively. And comparatively, he's talking about a toe injury that was deemed inoperable, a meniscus tear he played through, ankle injuries, foot injuries, shoulder injuries, back injuries. I mean, Dan Skipper said it best today. I mean, he played through so much that you guys listening have no clue about. I mean, Frank lived in the training room the last couple of years. And the fact that he goes out with only missing 3 or 4 games over his last 3 seasons, back-to-back second-team All-Pro nods, 3 straight years in the top 5 of PFF's ratings of centers. The best all-around center in the game went out as one of his best seasons as a pro. So it is. It's surprise, but it's also, yeah, that makes sense.
It does. And again, it's one of those things where it's like with Frank, it's you knew it was going to come at some point. Right. You just did not know when. And just the timing of it right now during OTAs, that's the part that was shocking to me. I thought that if Frank was going to walk away, it would have probably been at the end, like right at the end of the season. But again, and going back to another thought that I said before, and hopefully you guys, this makes sense to you guys. This goes back to what Dan Campbell said after that NFC title game. Yeah. It's no guarantee we'll be able to keep this same group. You got to cash in on these windows, and now you're still in the Super Bowl window, but you have to do it without the best center of his time, his era,
his generation for sure. Yeah. It's a huge loss. It's a huge loss in the locker room. It's a huge loss on the field. And because, everyone from Hank Fraley to Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown to Dan Skipper to Dan Campbell has said Frank's the first guy in the building. He's the first guy breaking down tape. He's the first guy. He's not just a great center. I mean, what they've done to the Minnesota Vikings the last 2 years against Brian Flores' crazy blitzing, all out or nothing defense, Frank is why they have won those games. Frank's ability to ID blitzes, his ability to get everyone on the same page, his relationship with Jared Goff. It's kind of like Goff's relationship with St. Brown. It's chemistry you can't teach. And man, you're losing a leader on and off the field. You're losing one of the game's best at what he does. And even if the best case scenario works out this season at center, it's a drop off.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think let me take that back. When you have Frank Ragnow in that lineup, you can say the Lions offensive line is elite.
Yes.
When you take him out, they're good.
Yeah.
But Ragnow makes them elite. And, there's going to be a lot of questions on who's going to replace him, who's going to step in and fill that void. But I think the one thing I want fans to realize is there's no such thing as replacing Frank Ragnow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anybody that steps in, whether it's Graham Glasgow, whether, Tate Ratledge has been cross-training, even though he's never played he didn't play the position at Georgia.
Yeah.
We know he's cross-training. Kingsley, we know he has some center experience, but
yeah,
you're talking about replacing an all-pro center.
Yes.
And that's going to be a tall task. Even if it does, like you say, even if it does go good, that's asking a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're gonna play a clip from Dan Campbell before practice today on Ragnow, but I just loved that Dan pointed to the play against Tampa Bay in the playoffs, 4th and 1 at the goal line. Against Vita Vea, who is 6'5", 360 pounds. Frank's playing through ankle, knee, and toe injuries and falls to a knee and still gets up and finishes the job to get Craig Reynolds into the end zone. And Dan said that's not just a memory of Frank. That's like one of my biggest memories from this game of all time. And he's the embodiment of a warrior. Like, honestly, when I have friends or people talking out of pocket about, oh man, NFL players make too much money and stuff like that, Frank Ragnow has always been the example of guys that I bring up and was like, you have no idea what these guys go through to get on the field. You have no idea what he put himself through to be on the field. Like, guys like Frank Ragnow do not grow on trees.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the center. I'm talking about the toughness. I'm talking about the brain in between those two ears too, man.
I mean, make too much money, you can argue. There's an argument that they don't make enough.
I know. It was always like, man, these contracts are crazy, blah, blah, blah. And you just hear people talking out of pocket and you're like, no.
Yeah. NBA contracts are crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
NFL,
I know.
A lot of those guys need to make a lot more than what they're making.
So, yeah, it's that's just Dan Campbell opened it up about Frank Ragnow today, said a lot of great things. And what we'll talk about on the back end is the rumor and innuendo that it was anything to do with a contract. But either way, here is Dan Campbell from Thursday, June 5th, a couple of days after Frank Ragnow's retirement.
Teammate, football player, man of the community. Man, he's done it all. And he would be sorely missed, man. He, one of the greatest memories I have of Frank was divisional against Tampa Bay, 4th and 1. We run downhill to Craig Reynolds, man, and he's got big boy. And he hits him, and he kind of hits the knee, and then he has to get back up and top the block. We score, man. It was huge, it's the type of player he was. So he'll be missed. But, man, this train goes on. Train rolls on. And it's the next man up. And so we will be ready to go when camp hits. We'll be ready to go. We got plenty of versatility up there. We like the guys that we drafted. We like our free agents that we brought in, the young guys, Kingsley being one of those guys, among others. So I got all the respect for Frank Ragnow. And, man, I love him to death. And the other thing is, quite frankly, some of the stuff about contract talk, that's disrespectful. That's not what this was ever about. So, anyway, love you, Frank. Appreciate you.
So, yeah, I mean, Dan shot it down like 5 times. This was not contract related. It is disrespectful to say it was. Frank had 2 years left on his deal. Frank, just... See, that the contract talk was never sourced to anything.
Yeah.
It always felt speculative and like maybe one thing was said in passing and it kind of, I forget what they call it, but it's like the telephone effect where you sit in a circle and you whisper it. The message is going to come back to you differently.
Yeah,
I just, nothing about that ever added up.
Yeah, like, I was like, I had people ask me, but I'm like, I have not heard anything about that.
Yeah.
I mean, Anzalone, there's been hints about
that's out
him.
there.
That's
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
There are hints, but Frank was like, I didn't hear anything about that. And like, to your point, he has money left on the deal, so it didn't make any sense for
top
that.
5 center money left.
Yeah,
on the deal.
so it was like, it didn't make any sense. But
personally, no indications here that was, and I just. you could. Frank's the kind of guy that if he went to the Lions with a contract issue, that would have been taken care of.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of the same way I look at the Anzalone issue. I think we're just kind of waiting for that to happen.
Mhm.
Like that, there's like 5-6 guys where I'm like, yeah, they're going to take care of that guy.
Yeah, I mean, and again, just you can make the argument that Frank Ragnow is as important as anybody in that Lions locker room. So it's, I mean, hey, I don't want to say the sky is falling, but I think people really have to understand that, hey, this is a serious loss.
Yes,
and it's okay, and it's okay to acknowledge that without saying, hey, they're going to be bad or anything like that. It's just that, hey, this is going to be an adjustment period because you're talking about a whole you have a huge overhaul within the entire coaching staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a new coordinator, and now you're losing your primary anchor on that line. It's gonna be interesting to see how they navigate through these waters.
Yeah, and I did some radio in enemy territory this week in Green Bay, and they were just asking, and I was like, you know what? My take and expectation on this team did not change when Ben Johnson left. My take and expectations of this team did not change when Aaron Glenn left. Those are big losses that they've got to adjust to. But I'm not going to sit here and say they're still the favorite in the NFC North. This is still a bona fide, perennial, top-of-the-line contender in the NFC North, or NFC period, that I expect to win the NFC North. So just hear me on that. Expectations still sky high. But this is big. Like this is a big loss. This is a loss that makes you realize that there's more than likely going to be 2 starts between your starting guards. Because I know people are trying to put the crown on Tate Ratledge's head as the starting center.
You can't do it yet. You can't do it. He hasn't taken an NFL snap. He hasn't had a training camp yet.
He had no center snaps at Georgia. Even if he's their long-term plan at center, Hank Fraley said 2 weeks ago it's not natural for him. It's still not natural for him.
Yeah, even if you wanted to move Ratledge to center down the line, you would have still loved to have had Frank Ragnow for the next year or two. Then, if you want to go ahead and kind of make that transition, okay, so be it. But just again, as great as or good as we expect Ratledge to be, I just think it's a lot to ask him to fill the shoes of an all-pro when he did not take a single snap at center during his 5 seasons at Georgia. Like it's a tall task.
I know. And 2 weeks ago, I would have projected the offensive line as Ratledge and Mahogany as starters, with Glasgow as the top center backup, just being a flex option off the bench. Yeah. I think Glasgow's the starting center this year.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Played center at a high level. Just familiar with the offense. To me, it just makes the most sense for where they're at right now. I mean, they could probably, after training camp and they have cuts and whatnot, they might be able to get some more depth depending on how guys look. But I mean, again, Graham seems the most logical choice. But again, we're talking about replacing Frank Ragnow, and
and we're talking about someone whose play through knee injuries last year, but fell off a cliff. Like Glasgow's second half of the season in the postseason, it was not good. It was not up to my expectations or his expectations, and I'm sure it was injury related, and I'm sure it was this and that. But now we're talking about Mahogany with 2 starts. We're talking about Tate Ratledge, a rookie, and we're talking about Glasgow, who arguably had the worst stretch of his career to end the season last year. You're banking on Glasgow coming back to camp healthy. You got a 1-year starting center that lets you plan your plans for Ratledge in the future. But honestly, I right here sitting before camp and pads have gone on, I would expect it to be Ratledge, Mahogany at guard, and Glasgow in the middle. And I just think that's good for everyone right now. That's good for Tate Ratledge. That's good for Christian Mahogany. That's good to have a veteran, a smart veteran who knows Jared Goff, who has snapped Jared Goff the ball in meaningful games and who has played. I mean, Graham's career is crazy. Like more than 2,500 career snaps at both guard spots and center. Like that, you go with that experience, you go with that mind. And Graham is someone, in my belief, who does deserve the benefit of the doubt for last year's knee injury and being banged up to the finish line and being swapped between guard spots and playing next to a new guy every single year. But yeah, we won't know until the pads go on in training camp, but I really would just let Tate be a guard right now.
Yeah, I think that just putting him in that position would be a disservice to him.
Yeah.
Let him play in his natural position and roll with Graham and see how things go. And if you need to make changes at some point, I mean, address it then, but start off the gate with the most logical and ideal situation for everybody, that they're all at their natural spots and know what they need to do, and that way you're not rocking the boat out the gate.
Yeah. And Graham is someone who has bounced back from tough seasons, from tough injuries, from job changes, rotation changes, coach changes. I mean, he's been through a lot too. So that's someone I've been around a lot, and it is someone that I do hold on to faith that it's like, you know what, Graham can be better than a replacement starter. Like, absolutely. I still think he's got good football left. And even if Tate's the long-term plan, I really do think that's just best for everyone. Unless Tate wows you and blows you away, man. I don't know. That's because then what? You're starting Graham at guard again?
Even if Tate wows you and blows you away, I just wouldn't do it. We're talking about a team that still has a Super Bowl window, and you would put an inexperienced guard, to put experienced guard at an inexperienced position.
Yeah.
I think it will be a recipe for disaster.
And with Tate, I'm not just talking about snapping the ball or being in the middle of the line. You are identifying blitzes. You are the quarterback of the offensive line. You are coming in early, identifying blitzes, identifying stunts, identifying run gaps, pass blocking sets, all that stuff while learning a new quarterback. If they think you can do it, do it. But like right now, it's just kind of like, you got a stud guard. You needed a new guard anyway, because I mean, they lost Kevin Zeitler. They lost Frank Ragnow. That's two dependable, know what you're getting every single day of the week guys. And it's just wild to see the interior offensive line with a complete makeover. I mean,
it's a facelift for sure.
It is. And I mean, Decker and Sewell on the outside edges. I mean, that's as good as it gets in tackle duos, but giant question mark on the interior offensive line. And talk about a big get is retaining Hank Fraley.
I was just about to say, I think keeping Hank Fraley may have been the biggest blessing in disguise out of all of this, because at least when you get Graham out there, or got Kingsley out there, now he can focus on honing those guys, getting them better, fine-tuning some areas ahead of the season, as opposed to having to coach up Ratledge to take on a huge role so early out the gate. So that may have been the blessing. If they would have lost Hank Fraley on top of Ragnow retiring, I honestly would have been like, yeah, I'm changing my prediction.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, Hank has proven to be a master of changing things on the fly, developing guys, working with the guys, and also it's going to be paramount in training camp. Hank Fraley was a damn good NFL center. Center is his position that he played. It's the position he knows like the back of his hand. He's going to know. I mean, you've got the right coach. You have got the right coach. Take away his center experience, you've got the right coach from everything we've heard and said about Hank. I almost did what you did. But just having that center-minded offensive line coach, he's got the right touch. He's got the right feel for it. And I mean, that's the camp battle jockeying thing to watch once camp comes around, is what the hell they're going to do at guard and what the hell they're going to do at center.
Yeah, and I think another big thing to watch would be, like you said, that chemistry that Jared Goff had with Ragnow.
Yeah.
Who is he going to mess best with? I believe the smart choice would be Graham. But again, we'll see what happens during training camp. But it's just
like, I understand the desire to put Tate in the center center. But
he's huge. That's a big, massive guy.
And I penciled him as a starter the second they drafted him. So I mean, the talent's there, the fit's there, but it is just like, that's a big ask. That's a big ask. So I understand the excitement. I understand all the tweets about your new starting center, Tate Ratledge, but I think best across the board is at guard for him. And that's just Frank. I really hope you guys realize, the fans of this team, how lucky you were to have someone like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about dying on the field, and if Frank Ragnow announced his retirement, it's because he knew there was nothing left. I mean,
the term inoperable toe.
The toe.
That's just like
people have
what?
forgotten the toe and the pushing and how you're planting and your sets and you're getting low. This is someone who played through a fractured throat, didn't allow a sack in the game against the Packers in 2020 or 2021. This is someone who tore his meniscus, had surgery, and missed one game and came back and didn't allow a sack or a pressure. I mean, we're talking about the toughest of tough. And I said it in a tweet earlier this week. And it's like, Frank's that guy. He's the rare lone guy who could not practice all week. And you're like, hey, he's going to play 70 snaps.
And here's the thing that I want people to understand. Understand how serious and how bad these injuries must be. He's not retiring at 34,
Dude.
35, 36, 37. 29.
29 blew me away.
29.
Yeah. 29 blew me away. And I think you could almost say that the best thing to come out of the Quinn Trisha years was Frank Ragnow.
Easily.
Like, honestly, I mean, the way they handled that draft, they didn't talk to him, they didn't interview him, they hid their interest, they got him, and he was a stud. So credit where it's due there. Yeah. That's the one part of the offensive line he can take credit for, in my opinion.
What do they say? Even the trash can get a steak?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just a weird week, just because Frank is one of the pillars that holds this building up. I mean, really, like, he's got an argument to have his number retired. I mean, I know he only played less than 10 years, but like, that's one of the greatest centers of this generation. And if the Pro Football Hall of Fame's putting together all decade teams and stuff like that, you're going to have a hard time not at least mentioning his name. It's so weird.
I'm just thinking now, like, wow, in my lifetime, the Lions have had 3 generational type players retire.
I know it.
Very young, but this one is just more so for something because he couldn't go anymore. And I think that's just the sucky part about it. I mean, with Barry leaving, with Calvin leaving, they were both bad situations, but I mean, it is what it is. But this one's just Frank's body saying, you're done.
Frank loves football. Like, Frank, first 4 seasons in the league, the Lions finished in last place in the NFC North. Like, he was on the ground floor of this rebuild. I mean, he was one of those leaders who stood up when Campbell and Holmes got hired and was like, let's do it. This is it.
And you know what? I think that's probably the part where, when Frank was talking about himself, saying is the best he's felt, I'm wondering was he just hyping himself up because, like you said, he's gone through those bad years and now he's finally playing meaningful games, winning division titles, playing in the playoffs. And at this moment, this is when his body gives out. I think that's probably, like, no, fans are like, why did he wait till then? Why did he wait? Why did he wait? I mean, do you think that of everything that he went through, he really wanted to walk away right now?
Hell no. And on that part, because we did get to talk to Campbell today, they obviously didn't have a yes or no answer from Frank, but like, everyone in this building knew he was contemplating it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knew it was a possibility. And Dan Campbell said it this morning. Hey, if you're going to do it, maybe let us know before the offseason concludes. Guess what? I mean, he did it. He did it before camp. And guess what? They drafted 3 interior offensive linemen in the last 2 drafts. They had an idea this was always a possibility. I mean, Tate Ratledge, trade up and get him. You go double dip with Miles Frazier. You get Mahogany last year. There were long-term thoughts there. I mean, there's short-term thoughts with Ratledge, no doubt, but there were long-term thoughts there for sure, especially Glasgow coming back and getting the deal he got. I mean, there were long-term thoughts here. So I think there was surprise, but there was also, all right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And again, I think it's just the shock that, again, even though they knew it was coming, it's just the finality of it. Hey, I'm done.
Yep. So show Frank your love. Go check out Rags Remembered. Runs a great foundation. He's, as Dan Campbell said, he's been a true man of the community. And I hope you guys realize how good you had it with him, because that was somebody that put his body through absolute hell. And I pray to God that he finds comfort and health in his next phase of his life, because he's earned it. I mean, he's really earned it. And anybody talking some type of way, this wasn't contract related. This wasn't completely out of left field. Like, that's what I've been writing all week. Like, yeah, they're surprised, but like everybody knew this was a possibility. Like, I was looking through Brad's transcript after the NFC title game loss 18 months ago, and it was, we're going to give him space to think about things.
Yeah.
They've been giving him space to think about things the last 2 off seasons. So drowned out the voices looking for headlines and aggregations and stuff like that. And I just, it never added up that it was about a contract. I never bought into that. That's just also not how Frank handled business. So yeah. And there were, like I said, there was nothing to talk about on the field today. The one piece of news that came out of today was Amon-Ra St. Brown had an offseason knee surgery to clean some things up. He expects to be ready for training camp. He was on the sideline today, throwing with the rookie Tesla, hanging out with Calvin Johnson on the sideline, talking with Sheila, involved, talked with us after the practice ended, and expects to be good to go for camp. He's loving the new offense under Morton. Said it's like waking up, like you got new plays, new formations and stuff to read. It's kind of like one of those things where you don't go through the motions, but he's like, there was nothing new to learn in our offense. We knew what it was. We knew what it was coming. It had been, Ben Johnson had been here his entire career. So that's kind of like it, man. What else do you got?
Well, I talked to Amik Robertson off to the side, and
I'm sure that was fun.
He's all intent. I'm gonna give only a couple tidbits because I'm actually gonna have something out there about it. But he said that his off-season program and recovery is going well. He's expecting to be cleared very soon.
That's right.
And said it's all business right now for him.
Yeah, and we're kind of dumping the notebook out because it's about to be summer break. This will be the last, as I said, the last Dungeon of Doom for a little bit. We'll be back in about a month and some change.
Oh boy!
I go off the grid this coming Monday,
and I'm gonna be somewhere floating in the wind until I go off the grid.
Yeah, exactly. I got a week and a half left of the semester. We got a media law exam coming up, and then I'll be Upper Peninsula. I'll be in Canada. I'll be off the grid doing my nature thing.
And I'll be I already did participated in my graduation ceremony, but I still had 2 classes left. So I'll be knocking those classes out and doing probably daddy daycare.
There you go. Have a couple stories coming out through the weekend. I'll get a couple things up before I take off on Monday. Ennis Ragstra while he's working outside and not inside. Going to write some thoughts down on the center and guard situation before I take off too, just because I think it was already an important discussion and now it's even more important. But just remember us, Dungeon of Doom at mlive.com. Any thoughts? I mean, even if you're sitting there and it's June 20th and you've got a Lions question you want to answer for training camp, send it there. We'll find it. mlive.com/Lions for anything that happens over the offseason. I believe Ratledge is the only rookie not signed to his deal yet. I would assume that would be happening soon. But that's all we got for you. It's it's a weird day. I get to take Microsoft Teams off the computer for a little bit. Hopefully my bosses don't hear that. You got my phone number. But I appreciate y'all. It's kind of weird. It's the end of the year. It's a little early because no mini camp because of the return for the Hall of Fame game. We'll be back a little earlier than usual, but we're also getting out of here a little earlier than usual. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
I'll take it.
The relevancy of this team has truly made this a 10.5-month without breaks job.
That is what I was telling one of my friends. They were just like, oh, so
it's awesome. I love it.
With the offseason, you get the children. I'm like, no, NFL don't stop.
No, I know. Everybody's like, I took 3 days off in February. And since then, it's been the combine. Since then, it's been the draft. Since then, it's been rookie minicamp, owners meetings. It's been so, hey, I love it. I'm doing what I want to do. I know you feel the same. But
it's better than the alternatives.
I gotta unplug. I'm a country boy. I need to fish. I need to kayak. I need to not be on my screen so much. And hopefully, you guys take a little break too. But remember us when we come back. This is MLive's Dungeon of Doom podcast. I'm Ben Raven, and he's Corey Woods.